Pilar from Makatbong Elementary School. I am going to present the last module, which is about conjunction. Before we go to our lesson for tonight, let's have a recap of all the lessons that we have learned in the past 3 weeks. On the first week, we have learned the subject-verb agreement. The verb must agree with the subject. A singular noun requires singular verb. A plural noun requires plural verb. On the second week, we have learned the strategies to improve our reading comprehension. The 7 comprehension strategies are questioning, predicting, clarifying, making connections, rereading, visualizing, and summarizing. And on the third week, we have learned the importance of punctuation in writing. We defined punctuation as a set of marks used to regulate text and clarify their meanings, principally by separating or linking words, phrases, and clauses. The commonly used punctuations are period, exclamation point, question mark, comma, semicolon, colon, apostrophe, quotation mark, hyphen, dash, and parenthesis. Let's start with our lesson for tonight. At the end of this module, you will be able to: number 1, identify conjunctions and their uses. Number 2, use the different types of conjunctions properly to improve any type of writing. Let's define writing. Writing is considered a remarkable communication skill that any person could ever have. We can learn writing when we want to express the thoughts we have long been keeping inside our brain. Tonight, let's talk about conjunctions, which are an integral part of the English language. If used properly, they can improve almost any type of writing, from business writing to academic writing. Conjunctions help create better sentences. If used properly, they can improve almost any type of writing, from business writing to academic writing. Conjunctions help create better sentences. However, using them incorrectly or not using them at all results in choppy and incoherent writing. Conjunction is a part of speech that functions as a connector between 2 sentences, clauses, phrases, or words. We often use conjunctions in speech without realizing it. In writing, they can be effectively used in lieu of starting a new sentence. The proper use of conjunctions allows for more natural flow and rhythm in your writing. The improper use of conjunctions often results in writing that sounds choppy and disjointed. For example, I went to the store. They didn't have apples. They also didn't have hot sauce. While technically not incorrect, these sentences would sound much better as one sentence joined together by conjunctions like this one. I went to the store, but they had neither apples nor hot sauce. The previous sentence used 2 different types of conjunctions, coordinating and correlative. Many people are not even aware there are 2 types. But in an editor's world, there are major differences between the 2. The first type of conjunction is coordinating conjunctions. Coordinating conjunctions are the most common form of conjunctions. They are so pervasive in the English language that they are used in nearly every sentence or paragraph in some form or another. There are 7 coordinating conjunctions in total, and it is very likely you've heard all of them many times today. While you may not be able to list them off the top of your head, there is a very simple mnemonic that can help you to remember them. Just remember the word fanboys. F for, A for and, N for nor, B for bat, O for or, Y for yet, and the last letter is S for so. These 7 words function to connect 2 or more items of equal syntactic importance. These items can be words, sentences, or clauses. However, there is a risk associated with using coordinators, as they can lead to what is known as a run-on sentence. This is a sentence that is too heavy and contains multiple subjects. Coordinating conjunctions can lead to confusion and senseless sentences if you are not careful. Use them sparingly. If you have used more than 2 coordinating conjunctions in one sentence, you've likely got a run-on sentence. Let us have an example for each coordinating conjunction. Again, let's remember the word fanboys. Let's get started. First is the letter F, which stands for. Its function is to introduce the reason for the preceding clause. For example, most of the visitors were happy just sitting around in the shade, for it had been a long, dusty journey on the train. Second is the letter A. It stands for and. A comma is also correct when and is used to attach the last item of a serial list, although many writers, especially in newspapers, will omit the final comma. For example, Sarah spent his summer studying basic math, writing, and reading comprehension. The third letter is N. It stands for nor. Its most common use is as the little brother in the correlative pair, neither nor. Example, that is neither what I said nor what I meant. The fourth letter is B. It stands for but. One of its uses is to draw a contrast. For example, this is a useful rule, but difficult to remember. For the fifth letter, we have O. It stands for or. Example, you can study hard for this exam or you can fail. The sixth letter is Y. It stands for yet. It functions as a coordinating conjunction, meaning something like nevertheless or but. The word yet seems to carry an element of distinctiveness that but can seldom register. Example, John plays basketball well, yet his favorite sport is badminton. And the last letter is S. It stands for so. Be careful of the conjunction so. Sometimes it can connect 2 independent clauses along with the comma, but sometimes it can't. For instance, in this sentence, John is not the only Olympic athlete in his family, so are his brother, sister, and his Uncle Mark. The second type of conjunction is correlative conjunctions. Correlative conjunctions are slightly more obscure, but you have undoubtedly come across them in your daily speech. A correlative conjunction, as its name implies, is a pair of conjunctions that are joined together to combine 2 relative parts of a speech. For example, it was either me or him. In this sentence, either and or are the correlative conjunctions. They bind me and him together, insinuating an inclusive relationship. The following are the primary correlative conjunctions in the English language. Let us use not only, but also in a sentence. She was not only mean but also rude. Let us use neither nor in a sentence. They were neither fun nor exciting. Let us use both and in a sentence. He was both pleased and surprised. Let us use whether or in a sentence. He was not sure whether he was winning or losing. Let us use not, but in a sentence. They did not want to waste the day, but they stayed inside. Correlative conjunctions often function as comparative devices. While this is not their sole function, it is the most common context in which you will see them. In addition to the two types of conjunction, we have subordinate conjunction. Subordinate conjunctions are used when one idea in a sentence is dependent upon another idea. The subordinate conjunction is used to connect the dependent with the main thought. There is a very simple mnemonic that can help you to remember them. Just remember a white box. A stands for after, although, and as. Let's have examples. Number 1, after dinner, we'll go see a movie. Number 2, although I'd rather not, I'll make an exception. And number 3 example, as you know, she's rather eccentric. We have the W. The W stands for when, whenever, whether, where, wherever, and while. Let's have examples. When we're done, let's get some ice cream. Whenever I go, I try to see something I've never seen before. Whether or not you agree, I think it looks fine. Where I go, they always have sales. Wherever I go, I try to enjoy myself. And the last example, while I'm there, I play music on a jukebox. We have now the letter H, which stands for how. For example, how is it that even though you go there all the time, you've never noticed that before? And I stands for if, in case, and in order. These are the examples. If you find out, please let me know. In case you hadn't heard, I couldn't care less. In order to enjoy your trip, take your time and enjoy the sights. Now let's have the letter T. It stands for that and though. For example, that I like wearing red, that has never been in dispute. Though I'm flexible, I draw the line about that. For letter E, which stands for even though, and ever since. Here are the examples. Even if it is true, I'll forgive him. Even though I'd heard the song before, I hadn't known who sang it. Ever since I met her, I haven't been able to think about anything else. Let's have the letter B, which stands for because and before. Here are the examples. Because I've been there before, I'd rather go somewhere else. Before I saw the house, I was ready to just rent an apartment. And for letter U, which stands for unless and until. Unless you are willing to wait, you'll have to come back tomorrow. And the second example, until we find it, we can't leave. And the last letter is S, which stands for since, so, and so that. For examples, since then, I've had a different opinion of him. The second example, so sure were you of your theory about them, you ignored evidence that you were wrong. And the last example is, so that I'm sure I understand you, please repeat what you said. Note that the order in which the dependent and independent clauses appear can be reversed, though often the comma separating the clauses is then not necessary. However, because the independent clauses generally contains the essential information, the sentence is usually more effective when the independent clause trails the dependent clause. Before we proceed to our topic for tonight, let us pause for a while for some important reminders from our sponsors.